Good morning. It is Thursday, January 9th. We're in a little bit of a snow globe. Atlanta is prepping for a winter storm, and we have Steve Greenfield, who happens to be back in Atlanta from CES. He's going to tell us everything he learned and more.
I think he's going to tell us everything he taught everyone, but that's just me. No, he learns a lot. That's the thing. A great teacher is a great learner. You know,
lifetime learner. Lifetime learner. We want to start off by just saying, like, our thoughts, our prayers, our support is out there. The tragedy that's unfolding in California right now, the LA wildfires. There are over like 30 dealer groups in the affected area right now. I'm sorry, 30 plus stores. LA Car Guy Group, Trophy Auto Dealer Group, Gaplin Motors, SoCal Chevy Dealers, Universal Mitsubishi, Casa de Cadillac, and more. And more. That's not an exhaustive list. But, you know, we know our friend Brian Maz is out there. We haven't talked to him. Maybe we'll try to get him. But look, same thing that applied to what was going on in Asheville, North Carolina. If there is any way we can help, we can be of assistance, we can draw attention to any relief efforts, specifically ones that are dealer run or trusted by the dealers there, please let us know. Send us an email, crew@asodu.com, and we'll do what we did last time. We'll try to point
rally around
all the traffic we can, circle the wagons, and do what we can to serve our dealership family and them as they serve, obviously, their people, their communities, and this is still unfolding. So just want to put that out there first and foremost.
It's just awful. Some of the photos and some of the videos of what's going down there and the uncontainment that's going on. They got 100-mile-per-hour winds blowing this thing across the trees. So it's crazy.
It's one of those things in life, and we have to wrestle with this as a national industry, right? You have good things and hard things, these parallel rails of life. And so we're going to try to balance the two, especially as the industry is gearing up to go to New Orleans in just a couple. It's 2 weeks. Oh, man. Right? 2 weeks from today, the NADA show starts. That's it.
Stop.
No, it's Thursday. It's Thursday.
I'll be right back. I got plans.
No, right now we'll already be there. And so the industry's gathering. So obviously there's these two things, the duality of move things forward, and a stronger industry provides for strength in situations that are tough. We just want to let you know about a few things that are going on. You know, I don't know if we've talked about this much, but we have an official partnership with NADA this year.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if we've ever even talked about that on the show. We've talked about it in the email and stuff like
that. Yeah, it's a great collab. We're bringing some of what's going on the show floor to the NADA live stage, which is kind of centered in the middle of the floor this year. It won't be in the lobby. So if you're kind of wondering, like, what's going on, what should I see, where should I go, you can at the top of every hour come check us out. We'll be streaming live to that live stage. You can kind of see, like, what should I maybe check out next? What innovative, cool things are people doing? Yeah,
and just as a reminder, we also are going to bring you a lot of special coverage from the show. So if you're not on the email list, go to asodu.com. Make sure you're on the email list. We're doing daily live streams, not just a show in the morning, but we're doing live streams throughout the day to bring you the people and the things that we're seeing and we're hearing. We're also going to do our first ever NADA party. And we have our first ever NADA party site up, which is by far the fastest growing ASOTU property ever.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So you can go to nadaparties.com and see. It's not exhaustive yet, but there are a lot of parties on there, and everyone's figuring out this is where you need to have your party. If you're having a party, go to the site, nadaparties.com, register your event so we can make sure people know what they can find, what night, what they're doing. And for our party, it's sold out, but get on the wait list because we are going to be opening up more tickets as we get closer. We're going to be confirming attendance. We're limited by the venue, obviously. We're going to be confirming attendance, and if you don't confirm your attendance, we're giving the ticket to someone who will confirm attendance.
That's right.
And also, some of our sponsors of the party have golden tickets that they're going to be giving out closer to the party. So if you're a dealer and you want to go to the party and you go in and it's sold out, get on the wait list. But also you can reach out to the sponsors and be like, hey, can I get one of those golden tickets?
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
All right.
Let's get into it. Let's bring Steve in here. We need to talk to him about CES.
Third day in a row. Steve Greenfield back in Atlanta. What time did you get in last night?
About 10:30 last night we landed.
Okay. He's good to go.
Yeah.
Well, guys, before we go there, I'm going to take over for a minute here if you guys are okay. Just bear with me. All right. So question for both of you, because I don't know that anyone's ever asked this. I see you guys at these conferences. Any day is a good example. You guys are going to be on 24/7, on stage, roaming around, doing interviews 4 days straight. It's got to be exhausting. Question for each of you, 30-second answer. What is your what's your secret to surviving NADA? You know, caffeine? Is it power drinks? How much sleep do you guys typically get those evenings? Do you stay well hydrated? Do you guys have like some superstitions that you follow? Magic? Like, what do you guys each do? Just, I want to know from each of you. I think the audience would be interested.
Okay, Kyle, you want to go first? Kyle, you go first.
I mean, one thing that we do is like we actually turn in a little bit earlier than I think a lot of people do, or maybe feel like we do. So that like 6-7 hours of sleep is critical. But yeah, it's
when was the last time you got 7 hours of sleep?
Okay, maybe not 7. It's at least 6 on an NADA.
Okay, all right.
But I will say, so it's the 6 hours of sleep, and then well hydrated. Like it is, there's like alcohol doesn't hit either of our system, so that helps us stay pretty.
And
pretty
caffeine?
alive.
I mean, is caffeine your friend? Or no?
Look, we go coffee for sure.
Coffee. For me, like I'm an introvert by nature. You wouldn't guess that by what I do for a living, but when I'm out there, I love being with people. But my battery's drained at the end of the day, right? I'm exhausted. So one thing for me that I've done in the last 2 or 3 years is, and maybe people do this already, but like I have my own room, my own space, and I just try to sit in quiet at the end of the night and like shut my laptop. There's so much to do. And if I give myself that time, I also try my best. And I know Kyle does this too. Try to get a little exercise in the morning if possible. That breaks down after day one, typically. And I also try to make sure that I don't give myself a crushing travel schedule to get there.
Right.
So like no 3:30 a.m. wake up to get on an early flight, because I know by the end of the day. So that's it. Yep. Coffee. Good friends. It's hard. I mean, the energizing of being around everybody in the industry and seeing everybody that we interact with all year in one place helps. But yeah, those are simple tips from a couple simple
all
guys.
right. So the industry needs to start calling Kyle at 11 p.m. That's what I got from this. Hey, Kyle, where are you?
Where are you?
Why aren't you at these parties?
Kyle's like, that's fine. You can call me at 11, but I'm also going to call you at 5 when I'm running on the treadmill.
Right, yeah, true. Yeah, exactly right.
Every day. I sometimes don't run Sunday, but I don't run Sundays anyway. So I do run every day of NADA.
How about you, Steve?
There you go.
Give us some of yours.
No, I think it's the same thing with time. You know, I stay away from the alcohol, stay well hydrated, get to sleep at a reasonable hour, but then you can get up early, like Kyle, you're saying too, right? And like, but what you don't want is to run out of gas at like 7 or 8 at night if you're in the middle of a dinner, and you got to like manage the energy levels.
I'm so thankful that we're Central Time.
Right. Yeah. Very true.
Pacific time kills me. Yeah. You feel like a rock star for like day 1 and maybe day 2. Where you're like, I'm up at 3 a.m. and everybody else is just sleeping. And then when it's like 7 p.m. and it's usually my bedtime on the East Coast, right? I'm like 10:30, and everyone's like, so what are we doing for dinner? It's like this is gonna hurt. Right?
Yeah, so 3-hour dinners.
Central Time's gonna help us, and also the fact that we're not in the desert. Because like by the last day of NADA in Vegas, like everyone looks like they just walked across the Sahara. Their lips are chapped. It gets pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right.
Well, you were just in Vegas, actually.
Literally.
At CES. We want to get your recap. You said you spent the day yesterday around Startup Village and maybe a couple other things.
Yep.
What did yesterday have to hold for you?
Yeah, so I'll start there. So thousands, literally, I'm not exaggerating, literally thousands of startups from around the world, all in one huge room. And it's overwhelming. You can't possibly pay attention to all of them. It's numbing. There's so many. And but if you ever get a chance, don't neglect. I mean, it's great to go to the West Hall, the North Hall, the South Hall, and see these big exhibits. But get over to the Venetian, get into the basement. And it's breathtaking. Like these little startups where you got, 2 people from Korea or Japan or Turkey who, they've gotten some subsidization from the government to come over. They're young, full of energy.
They flew here in the back of the plane for 20 hours.
Yeah. Most definitely staying at some like cheap Airbnb with 10 other people off the strip or something. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing, right? I get energized by working with entrepreneurs in general, but to see just the sheer mass of like entrepreneurs was great. So that would be one. Two is, it struck me this trickle down, right? Like if you're an F1 or a MotoGP fan and you see technologies being developed, a few years later, we might be lucky enough to see them in mainstream cars. And it's the same thing with CES, right? I mean, one of the perks of going to CES, you see technologies there that, may not be in cars we're driving anytime soon, but, eventually some of these technologies will actually catch on, whether it's these full screen translucent windscreens that we're looking through. BMW has like this heads-up display that goes across the entire bottom of the windscreen. These kinds of things we're going to see over time. There's a lot of buzz around AI, but we talked yesterday about translucent TVs, but we may see mirrors, windscreens, rear view windows, etc. But I think the big things are like robotics, like a lot of robotics around enabling human movement. Exoskeletons, like Tony Stark, like exoskeletons for warehouses and things. So those kinds of things are really cool to see. But you can imagine, like, even for elderly folks, when Paul's in his wheelchair and his kids are looking after him eventually, then he's going to have like an exoskeleton. He'd be like Tony Stark.
The funny thing that you say about that, I tell my kids that right now. I was like, I'm going to be one of the most, you don't understand, in like 40 or 50 years from now, I am going to be able to like get up, move around, pick things up. Like I'm like,
absolutely.
Robo-Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to be sleeping and the AI in this thing is going to be like just moving me around like weekend at
parties. That's going to be great.
That's going to be my,
that's Kroger today.
That is my NADA 2070 survival plan.
There you go.
Walking around because my exoskeleton is going to be moving me around. And
it'll wake you up once in a while when you have to come.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
But I think the same thing with, autonomous mining, tractors and grass mowers, these kinds of things, lawnmowers, a lot of those technologies. And I think that, we're going to start seeing this stuff in the day-to-day, which is going to take a little bit of the edge off of consumers' resistance to Waymo and some of these technologies as well. So switching over to automotive, you guys heard me rant yesterday about Afeela, and the Sony Honda product and whether or not that timing is going to work for them. Really, I was excited yesterday. I continue to be excited about the new Honda EV products that are going to get built in the US, which is cool. But I think the thing that really struck me is many of the automakers elected not to participate this year. And that's very interesting. But I think a lot of them are tightening their belts with budgets. And, I wonder what the trickle down effect is going to be on NADA this year. And I'll have one forecast. I have not spent time, I should have before this call, but with the map yet. But I'm willing to bet that some of the really big spenders, the Coxes, the Reynolds, the CDKs, might have slightly smaller booths this year because everybody's...
The villages are not quite as big.
There you go. There you go. Yep. So you might see not as much, these showcase like city blocks, Cox takes over or whatever.
Really is.
And, maybe fewer OEMs participating, fewer of the big guys. I don't know what that's going to have. That might counterintuitively be beneficial for the startups that are doing their first NADA.
Absolutely.
So there's more floor space and better floor space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think there's only 3, maybe 4 OEMs actually on the floor. Ford and Toyota are typically there, but I think I only saw 1 or 2 more after that. So it is, and just perusing. Obviously, Steve, you and I both follow like the startup and the tech world a lot. Just perusing through. There was actually a lot of net new that I hadn't heard of or at least hadn't interacted with.
Cool. That's great. That's good to hear.
I think that's really neat to see that there's still like startups interested in kind of like entering the space and making themselves known for this.
Yeah. So the pro tip, I mean, I don't have to say this to you guys, but maybe to some of the dealers out there is like, get away from the main floor, get off to the periphery, out by the hot dog stand or the proverbial restroom, where there's like really shitty show floor space, because some entrepreneur there this year for the first time is going to be the next E-Lead or Vin Solutions, right? Joe Chura at Dealer Inspire, or what have you, or Dale Pollock at Viato 10, 15 years from now. And shame on you if you missed them by not just kind of wandering off and seeing some of these smaller displays.
What a great 2 week before the show warm up, man.
No, and we did look like when NADA is in February next year. So Kyle and I were like, okay, next year's the year we're going to CES.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're usually too close together that we can't, like, it's hard to make it work. But next year we have like a full month between the two. So
All right, well, let's figure out how to collaborate while we're.
Yes.
Do a whole
Oh, you
thing.
know.
over
I
there.
saw Jamie Butters yesterday. You know, he was busy as heck, but you know, they had set up like a podcast area, et cetera. So I'm sure you guys can have dedicated space out there where you can be doing live podcast during. And yeah, I mean,
Yes.
let's figure out the best way to collaborate on that.
next year we're following you to the startup.
Yeah.
basement.
You guys
That's
will be, your
That
mind
sounds
will be
fun.
blown.
Yeah.
It's crazy over there. You're crazy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a little collab here. At CES, Goodyear unveiled some cutting-edge tire technology to tackle autonomous vehicles' Achilles heel. I'm living in it right now in upstate New York.
Y'all are in
Icy and snowy conditions. The real question is, they think smarter tires are the solution to autonomous driving in the snow. Goodyear and Dutch company TNO showcased tire tech using vehicle cameras and weather data to predict braking distances. Usually, autonomous braking just is a prediction how far you are from the next object, but then bringing in data from the actual tires and combining with the camera tech, they essentially calculate how long it will take to stop in snowy conditions and adjust vehicle speed accordingly. Chris Hessel, Goodyear, their CTO, said without a trained driver, the system doesn't know it's a snowy road. That's the innovation they're trying to solve here, is that the vehicle knows what type of road conditions. So I don't know if you ended up seeing Goodyear while you were there. Did you happen to see them?
I saw the head of Goodyear Ventures and I hung out, but I did not see this technology out there.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I love this technology because I know from being, I grew up in the north, not as far north as you, Paul, but like even drivers struggle. And so if we can
Especially
mitigate
drivers.
risk in snow because we understand the stopping distance and what's necessary based on that particular tire in that particular condition, right? Like, oh, this has this type of tread, so it might react in this way, I think is like that more a better relationship with the real road driving characteristics. But it's interesting to me, like, I think this is actually technology that's going to be scaled across like all types of conditions, right? Oh, the condition is sunny and dry. Oh, the condition is dusty. Oh, the condition is rainy. And so I'm looking out for these actually like adjacent technologies that come to the vehicle, right? Even you go to like the actual brake. What does the brake know about the caliper's capacity to slow down and stop, right? So you start to think about all of these like little technology partners feeding data north into the vehicle. That's where we're going to see like the driving characteristics and dynamics get really in line and in sync.
Right now, do either of you know if it's raining heavy, will autonomous driving like work? Like, does it shut off? Does it say driver needed? Or is there any provision
have
of
no
that
clue.
right now?
There's two challenges. 5G doesn't work very well in the rain.
In the rain.
So if it's relying on 5G, you can have intermittent, connectivity. And then Tesla's gone all in on just cameras, whereas
Right.
most others use LiDAR, radar, and cameras. So you have failovers. But if cameras lenses get fogged, or
Yeah.
like today up in Syracuse, if they get caked with salt or
When they
snow,
get caked
they just
in
don't
salt
work.
and snow.
They don't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's a mentality thing too. People adopting the technology in upstate New York. When people say, "Oh, the car drives itself," the first thing out of everybody's mouth is like, "Okay," for like 3 months out of the year.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, that's the way it goes. We'll see what happens. But speaking of EVs and autonomous technology, this is kind of some big news from Ford. Surprised me, but the Mustang Mach-E actually outsold the gas-powered Mustang in 2024,
Wow.
signaling a shift in the iconic lineup. Ford sold 51,745 Mach-E's, which is a 27% increase year over year, and the gas-powered Mustang saw a 9.5% decline. They are saying some production issues led to tight supply with the gas-powered one, but Ford emphasized the model's profitability and strong appeal. Basically, the Mustang brand as a whole is a very profitable unit for Ford. Last year, they signaled they intended to expand the traditional portfolio, showing some dealers variants, including a four-door coupe, a four-wheel off-drive road. Whoa, okay. And basically, they don't have the full name in the notes. Somebody that knows what they're doing from Ford just said that, reiterated the profitability and the viability of the Mustang brand. So
Don't call it a Mustang, please.
we've said that
Nice.
100 times. Like, you can put a horse on the front of that, but that thing does not look like a Mustang. It kind of feels like they're starting to get there. It didn't start that way. I don't know. Comments?
I don't
Mustang Mach-E?
Yeah, I mean, I just would want to ask the question, like, how many of those were eligible for the $7,500 tax incentive, and what the leasing penetration was. I'm expecting, 80% of those 50,000 vehicles were leased, and therefore all of them were eligible for the tax incentive. And the tax incentives might go away. So we might see a rebalancing here. We'll see what 2025 holds.
Good point. A lot of those, I mean, there's always a Mustang Mach-E available at Hertz.
Yes, no doubt. Yeah. Well, yeah, you could ask what percentage of those 50,000 went into fleet.
Whether or not there were a bunch of lease vehicles.
But you think of the Mustang, right? Like the Mustang is also one of those quintessential, like, I'm renting a sports car, right? It's like,
yeah.
That's
they get a 6-cylinder Mustang or a 4-cylinder.
Over everyone's eyes. You got to be kidding me. Get out of here. I'm going to say something wrong.
Absolutely. All right. Well, look, it's been a fun week, Steve. Thank you so much for bringing back all the insights from CES.
My pleasure.
It's been very great for you to join us. We have a lot more coming 2 weeks from now. We'll be on the floor at NADA. In the meantime, go to nadaparties.com, register your party.